Good evening, I'm Colgan, and you're very welcome to the Business and Enterprise Show, Ireland's only live web-based business and TV programme. We have over 2 million views in over 200 countries, and as always, we're coming to you live from the Top of the Town studios in downtown Cavan. Now, before I start chatting to our guest, I just want to mention a table quiz coming up this Friday in aid of the Cavan Chamber of Commerce. It's in the Frana Hotel. It's starting at 8 o'clock. And as quizmaster, I can guarantee it'll be a fun night. Speaking of fun nights, my guest tonight knows all about having fun because one of his many business is a play and game centre, and it's Daragh Sheridan. Daragh, you're very welcome to the programme.
Thank you for having me.
I'm feeling very mind you, a lot of my guests kind of make me feel very inadequate. Where would I start? International sailor, trained hypnotherapist, author, business owner. I could go on and on, but where will we start?
Well, it's a case of I still haven't found what I'm looking for. So I suppose start with the play centre, maybe.
Yes, yes, indeed. Jester's Play Centre in Navan, underneath the shopping centre.
That's right.
Beside, underneath the shopping centre. They're quite a long time now.
Yeah.
Over a decade.
Yeah, no, we're there just gone 10 years now in May past, and. Still going strong, so we've a great setup, some great staff, and great customers there.
Why, of all things, a play centre? What was the driving force behind you setting up a PlayStation?
Well, it comes from a time that when myself and my wife, we lived in Australia before having kids, and then we had a kid. Our first son, Dylan, was born there, and they obviously had the weather to have playgrounds, which they did have on every corner of every street almost. And I sort of thought, God, it'd be great to have more playgrounds in Ireland. And obviously with the weather here, you needed indoor ones. And came home then, and that was 2001, end of 2001. And realised there was probably one in the country at that stage, in Swords, and started to look around. And trying to get a suitable premises proved fairly difficult. I had looked around the Meath area for quite some time, probably took the best part of a year to find a premises that the planners were happy with. Yeah,
needless to say, getting a premises, which in some businesses is no big deal, you can have it anywhere, but obviously you would have had specific requirements. As you said, planning would have been an issue, and also the size for the equipment.
Absolutely. No, we need something of the order with 5 to 6 metres of height. You need something between 4 and 10,000 square feet, really. And then you need car parking as well, are the real key things. And most of these types of businesses would be in business parks or industrial estates where you got those high eave sort of buildings. But Meath County Council wanted it specific to a town centre location, so which proved even more difficult to find that building with that sort of height. And then eventually, actually one of the planners helped me out. I was ringing about another unit, and he said, "No, we can't go on that unit." And I said, "Please help me. I need some help here. Have you got any suggestions where I could go?" And he gave me the names of 2 guys, one of which I rang both, and one which I'll meet you there tomorrow. And what was effectively a hole in the ground, it was the basement of the cinema, but there was nothing there. And it had been looked at for various different types of business, which they couldn't make it suitable.
And it was ideal for you.
Perfect.
Now, because of the fact that it was a relatively new concept, the equipment, was that difficult to source?
At that stage, there was probably 3 to 4 UK companies that did it, and there was one guy in Ireland doing it more on an agency basis for one of the UK. So it was easy enough to source that part of the equipment, and then we had a sort of bigger area than we actually needed, so we needed to look at another attraction that we could put in there.
Yeah.
So we put on a laser tag, which is basically laser guns, and we put an arena in with 15 guns, 16 guns, and 2 bases, and the kids go around and have great fun shooting each other and that. So that was the second part of it, really.
And that's been going successfully for the past 10 years. But of course, there's more to you than that. As we said earlier, you're a trained hypnotherapist, dealing mainly, although not exclusively, with sports issues, and that comes from your own sporting career. We're in the presence of international sportsmanship at the moment.
Yeah, no.
Tell us a little about that.
Yeah, no. I mean, since I was probably 6 or 7 years old, I've sailed. Followed my dad's interest in it, which he encouraged. He was a good sailor in his own right, and took it up as a young age and loved it. I've done it ever since. I mean,
now we're in kind of landlobbing country here.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't. When you say sailing, what sort of boats are we talking
well,
about?
basically, most of the sailing I would do would be in small dinghies, so that it's a 1-man or 2-man boat, and then into small what we call keel boats, which are basically a slightly larger boat with a keel on the bottom of it for stability, and they'd be highly competitive, so sailed around the world. They would be have international events. Like
no, I don't think you've sailed around the world, though. You can
no,
correct me if I'm wrong.
I'd
but
love
you
to.
have sailed in some fairly exotic places.
Yeah, no, it's been fantastic. I mean, it's a great opportunity to travel because there's events. One of the beauties of the sport is that you can go and sail against the top guys in the world. Like similar, which you could never do in golf. You could never go and play with a Tiger Woods or Rory McIlroy in competition. We, as a sailors, you may have to qualify to get to the event, but you can go and sail against the top guys in the world, and so that can take you to sort of nice parts of the world then as well, which has been great.
And rubbing shoulder was very, very impressive sportsman.
Well, exactly. Well, they're actually in most cases, the top guys tend to be very helpful. So you go and learn a lot off these guys as well. So and they're quite open. I'm sure they get pestered all the time, but they're quite open to helping. Beginners or whatever. People below their level. That very top level. So it's been brilliant, and it's a great way to learn. You watch these guys, and then you can actually talk to them and ask them why the hell did you do that particular move. So it's great.
And when you say that particular move, is sailing like that? Are there techniques?
Yeah, there's a huge...
Or again, my very limited knowledge of sailing, which I don't think I can think of anything I've less limited knowledge of than unequal. But I was under the impression you waited for the wind, and the wind took you wherever the wind took you, and you could adjust the sail, but that was about it. But is there a lot more to it than that? Yeah,
there's a huge number of aspects to it. I mean, one of them is obviously adjusting, as you said, is adjusting your sails to the wind. You have to try and get the most and get the speed. So you're trying. There's where you place yourself in the boat, there's setting the sails, there's making sure your equipment is up to spec. Then there's a whole tactical element of where you place yourself versus the other boats. There's a navigation and a strategy as to what is the quickest way to get round the course. And then the wind and the waves are always changing. So it's never the same 2 days in a row.
Yeah.
So you're constantly having to put all those factors together and try and beat your competitor, basically.
It's not with say like Formula One, which finished last weekend, where you go around a track, I don't know, 100 times or whatever, you go around it, and at the end of the day you go around one track, it's pretty much the same as the next one. When you want to see it,
absolutely,
the hell with the tracks being different, your hours can be different.
Not even hours. You could go like 5 minutes up. The wind is constantly shifting, so it's moving like this in small patterns. So that affects the way you navigate the course. So you could go. The fastest way might be this way, and then 2 minutes later it could be that way. So you're constantly having to adjust for those factors, and that's where experience and practice and all that comes into it.
And as you said, you followed your father in the sailing. You also followed your father, although briefly, in training, which may or may not have led you to, but I know you did end up training in hypnotherapy.
Yeah. My dad had a training business mainly in sales and management, and it's called Training and Development in Malahide, and he has still the building there, but he's retired. Successful business with a sort of, and one of the facts that he always said about the business, that the big companies like your IBMs, they spent more on training when things were in a downturn. So so similar to what we've had, they increased their training budgets in order to try to get back to where they were, which I found was very interesting. Given that they've survived so long and continued to prosper.
There could be a connection there.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that was one of the things that I loved, the training aspect. I loved spending time with my dad. Got to do things that
always a bonus.
Yeah, exactly, and got to do things that I never got to do. Go on sales calls, go on training meetings, see him in his working environment, which I'd never seen. So all those things were hugely positive. I didn't stick at it that long because I didn't particularly enjoy it. It was a small company. There was two main guys in it, my dad and his partner, and you needed to be able to do both the training and the sales side of it. And I didn't really like the sales side of it. I enjoyed the training side of it, but so you couldn't afford to not be able to do both in a small firm like that. So that's
and hypnotherapy. How did that come about? You became a trained hypnotherapist.
Yeah, the hypnotherapy. It sort of goes back a long time to as I've talked to you about before. Is the GP that we had when I was a kid, and he. My mother took me down for some ailment or other, and I also had these two warts on two on my chin. And she just said in passing, "Is there anything you can do for that?" And he just said, "Yes, there is. I mean, all you have to do is tell them to go away." And my mother and himself looked at him, going, "Yeah, sure." He said, "No," he said, "quite literally, they're totally harmless to your body, so your body doesn't reject them. They're just there, and all you need to do is tell them." Go away.
So at a very young age, you saw the power of hypnotherapy, which you probably didn't know
exactly.
At the time.
Yes. Didn't have a clue what it was. And when I look back at it now, I know exactly what he was doing. But he really was just suggesting that you can do this, and literally within a week, 2 warts were gone.
Yeah.
And I told several of my friends, and with similar results. One guy in particular, within a week, he had them all over his hands. Within a week, again, maybe 2 weeks, they were just gone. And just talking to them.
And I don't suppose we could use the same process on the water charges, no?
No, I don't think so.
We don't need them, so we just tell them to go away. So
I think they'd ignore us.
So I suppose you had a background in business, you had a background in sports, and then when you became a trained hypnotherapist, you found that it was actually in sports that a lot of that's where the demand for your hypnotherapist services were, which you saw the success that you were having, which eventually led to this.
Yes.
The Performance Manifesto, which is your book. And the subtitle is 7 Steps to Brilliant Performance.
Yeah.
Now, before we find out what the book is about, what was the process? What made you say, well, I'm going to write a book? I know what, sorry. We've all said we're going to write a book, but you did it.
Yeah. The process to it was really, I suppose, I always had an interest in sports psychology. Through the sailing, again, it's a huge aspect of sailing. There's a lot of mental things that you have to deal with, to do with your competition, to do with dealing with conditions that you've no control over and things like that. So that was always an interest of mine, and then the hypnotherapy further that. A lot of the clients, what I specialised in was sports hypnosis, helping either people to improve performance in sports, or people came with issues, to do with their sport, that they were maybe had an injury and were struggling to get back to with the level they were at. So that again reinforced that interest. Yeah, that's worth looking at. And then the people who in sports used a lot of sports psychology techniques, and I felt we used a lot of those same techniques in sort of everyday issues, if you call them that, like giving up smoking or weight loss or fears and phobias, anything like that we were doing in the hypnotherapy clinic, used some of those techniques. So I thought if we could get a simple system, one of the problems that people faced was sportsmen and people just with everyday problems or issues, was that it's something else that you have to remember. So if you go out, I'll use the sports, if you go out in a tennis court or a golf course and you're trying to remember yet another thing to improve your performance, it sort of defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
So you're trying to make that as simple as possible, and that's where that comes from.
The things that stop people being brilliant sports people is the same thing that stops people being brilliant business people, business husbands, brilliant wives. It's what goes on up here, and I'm just looking at the back here: business meetings, sports, presentations, and speeches.
Yeah.
Now, the amount of people that I've met that the idea of having to give a speak in public, it just drives them insane. Is incredible. Now, I've been known to do them at the drop of a hat. This week I'm here on TV. Friday we did the table quiz. We did MC work on Monday. The fact that somebody would have a problem with that just never enters my head. Yet, a lot of people that come up with it is the biggest fear that they have.
Yeah.
You know, it's incredible, but it is what's stopping them doing that. It's what's stopping other people giving up the day job and opening the shop they always wanted, committing to a relationship, as you said yourself, smoking, drinking, whatever, waste lot. You know, it all does come from our brain, what we tell ourselves. And is this where this comes in? Does this help us control of our own thoughts?
Well, this is designed, it is designed to help you with the mental side of any performance. So, you know, the psychological side of any performance. So, no matter what you may have to do or have coming up in the future, be it work or personal or sports or hobbies, whatever it is, this will give you a sort of 7-step process that you can go through to practice to prepare yourself for that situation. And that's basically what the aim of the book is. It uses the techniques that normally used for sports psychology for everyday things.
Now, somebody buys this book, and I know at the moment certainly it's available on the internet, and as I said, probably be available in bookshops shortly. But at the moment, you can buy that yet. But we look at first item, things like business meeting. Somebody has a business meeting coming up, and not unlike you when you work for your father, you love the training aspect, but the selling. We're not good at selling, or we're not good at now. Business meetings has become a part of my job. Somebody might find before they'd been great. They worked on the floor. That's grand. They took the calls in. They dealt with everything, and they were brilliant. What they do, they were so good. They've now gotten a promotion, and they now have to have monthly meetings. And that has just scared the living daylights out of them. What are they going to find? What are some of the techniques that they can use in the book, the Performance Manifesto, that will help them get through that?
Okay. I suppose there's two things. First and foremost, they need to sort of get the skill set for whatever it is they're preparing for as well, and then the mental side comes alongside that, so they come together. So be it meetings or whatever, they may have to learn a particular skill, so that could be taught or learned from other people or another, and then they need to prepare themselves mentally for it, and that's where the book comes in.
Okay, so you've got to know how to do it, but just have a fear of doing it.
Well, exactly. I mean, you're never. I'm not going to make a sort of a club tennis player into a Wimbledon champion just by reading them. They will have what I would be able to help, and the book will be able to help somebody with, is to develop their skill level by improving the mental side of their game or sport. Because
again, just I suppose use an entertainment analogy. You see some bands, we say, on Top of the Pops. I say Top of the Pops, I'm sure my age here. whatever the equivalent is now.
I don't know whether there is an equivalent.
Let me get that image Jimmy Savile out of my head. And you see some bands and they're number one. And then you go out on a Saturday night to your local bar, and there's the postman, the carpenter, and the shopkeeper have a little three-piece, and they are brilliant. They have the ability, but something is stopping them. And is this where this book comes in?
Well, it's hard to say in that particular analogy. The guys like that, they're doing. I think they're doing something they love. So whether they want to do it as a career is another thing. I think what you'll get, if you take that band, if it was a fear of playing in front of somebody, that could be something that could you deal with. If that has prevented them from making the next step forward. So you could certainly deal with that. And it's to do things like self-talk. It's what you're saying to yourself in your head about that particular situation. As I'm sure, you don't seem to be bothered at all by the public speaking, but people doing public speaking, they build up this picture, and all they think about is the bad side. Going back to the hypnotherapy, that was a key factor for everybody. You have to focus on the positive of whatever it is you're trying to achieve. Don't give all the reasons you can't do something. Let's look at the reasons you can do something. So it's things like that.
Were you not available for consultation to Irish Water, no? They just need to concentrate on all the bad.
Exactly.
So is the key giving people the confidence? That mystical word, confidence.
Well, that's one aspect. I mean, the preparation is your self-talk. You do some visualization, so you're actually seeing yourself in the situation. But that visualization isn't necessarily just visual. I think to do it well, you need to do all the aspects. So if you think you can smell what you might hear, what you might feel. Like going back to the sports, like golfers, when I would have them as clients, you would sort of say, okay, see what you're going to see, hear the sounds. If you're playing a competition, maybe hear the crowds, feel the feel of the golf club, smell the cut grass, everything that you can to bring as many senses as you can into that situation. So, and then another simple technique is then just to anchor that feeling. So you're in that situation, so that anchor can be something as simple. You'll see tennis players, golfers, they all do it. They'll have some little twitch, looks like a little twitch.
Yeah, that's squeezing the...
yes, exactly. That's the simplest one to do.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of public speakers will have something like that.
Yeah.
Golfers, they used to say, Tiger Woods, he did this sort of quite deliberate blinking before. Now, I don't know whether that was his thing.
I think that's what got him into trouble, to be honest. Beautiful girls, and he
was winking at them. But that's where there's, and then tennis players bouncing the balls so many times, and they have to go through that routine to get themselves in the frame of mind. So those sort of things. Then the confidence is a huge one, in that you're feeling confident in the situation. Yeah. Focus, in the particular situation, and depending on what you're doing, your focus is going to have to be on something or other. So you need to think about that before. Then you need to think about the other aspect is how you may come across a problem, given in that situation. Example, when I did best man for a friend of mine, the microphone wouldn't work. What's going to happen now? I'm going to be swallowed up. The ground's going to open as well. But I think if you can think about it and prepare for that no matter what situation, what might go wrong, that I can deal with, and think about how I'm going to. And then we have in the book is that you break that pattern, so you don't get panicked. You have something to stop that happening. So there's a break in the pattern, and then you have a sort of almost like a reset button. You're going to hit a button, and I'm back into my groove, and back into what I wanted to do, and the way I wanted to feel, and whatever it was I wanted to do.
So this book is great help to you if you're good at what you want to be doing. If you're not good, doesn't matter who you go to, you're not going to make it. But if you're good and have the skill at what you want to do, if you know what level you want to bring it to, if like as you said, some people want to be a Tiger Woods. Yeah. Other people just want to be good enough to be make the captain's speech in the golf club. Yeah. Both admirable goals, two completely, but you have to know what you want. So have those goals and kind of be able to visualize them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think
in fact, multi-sensor them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, I think it's absolutely key that you know what it is you want to do, that you can picture, that you can see it. That's what I want. As you said, it's not winning whatever.
Yeah.
It might be just to give that speech. So you need to just know exactly what it is, and then where's your skill set in terms of being able to do that. You might have to improve that, or they might be adequate to do that. It might be just you might be perfectly good at giving a speech, or at a meeting, or theatre, or whatever it is. You might be perfectly, your skill set could already be there, but you just have this mental block that I'm going to freeze.
And you see that, I suppose, to use the tennis analogy, Andy Murray, a good tennis player, yet when it gets to a certain level, it's not that it's his opponent that beats him, it's almost as if it's himself.
Yeah, I agree totally. I mean, I think his most recent match where he was beaten almost to love, I think it was 6-love, 6-1 against Federer. Okay, admittedly probably the best player ever, but
I wasn't one of our better myself.
But he was definitely beaten before that game was played. Now I know he had some injuries and stuff like that, but
which we found out afterwards, didn't we?
Yes, well, exactly. He wasn't. He certainly wasn't in the right mental frame of mind to go up against Federer and beat him.
And of course, when you think of Muhammad Ali, he probably did everything in the book
naturally
before you and I were nearly born. It was I know what I want.
Yeah.
I am an accomplished boxer, and I tell myself I'm the greatest, and I'm telling you that I'm going to be living daylights out of you, and 9 times out of 10 it happened,
Yeah. Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, one of the things kids are brilliant at, kids do most of this stuff naturally, and I don't know what happens at some stage, it gets knocked out.
That's right.
They just do it.
I know when I was doing stand-up, I had a little routine where when I grew up, I wanted to be an astronaut, I wanted to be a cowboy, and I wanted to be a soldier, and I ended up as, and we went on. And it's true. Everyone related to it. You know, when I was a kid, nothing was going to stop me being the greatest thing. You know, and then I grew up and I said, well, you know what, I'd like to be a professional cyclist. Well, you kill it. Oh, maybe I can't.
Do that,
We listen to other people instead of inside, and possibly it's this book and other books like it is kind of bringing us back to actually listen to what's inside you, you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and like I think that's what kids do. They just, you know, like I said, their imagination's there. They can see themselves doing all these things. There's no way they'd ever think I'm not able to do it. I'm just going to go and do it.
Yeah.
And think twice about it.
Now, I buy this book, I read it. Now that's grand. Now, what do I have to do?
Well, basically,
what are the 7 steps that's in this?
The idea then is there's what I've called my Mentor Me card. It's basically, the idea behind it is that it's a small credit card with your 7 steps. And the 7 steps as you go through the book will be individualized. You will be, at the end of each chapter, you will make out your own, whatever that step will be. And you'll have 7 steps then that you'll practice in 5 or 10 minutes each day. And obviously that will change over time, and you'll have different things you want stuff for. You might have a speech, you might have a meeting, you might have a sports thing, so you might have a couple of these on the go at various times, or you might have an overall one for whatever, for work or whatever.
Yeah, but you kind of said there, at the end of each chapter is a list of things you have to do. Anyone wants to buy this book, read it and have their lives change, It'll be glad of the fee of the book, but they're wasting everybody's time. There are actions to be taken, and unless you take them.
Yeah, they're very simple. I mean, very simple actions. I mean, it's explained exactly what you need to put down and for example, your self-talk, what that might be for a given situation. So, giving a speech, it might be that I'm calm, I'm confident, I'm clear. So, there may be your 3 key words that you're saying to yourself: I'm clear, I'm calm, I'm confident. So that's your first steps. You write those down. So that's on my Mentor Me card. That's my first step: clear, calm, confident. The second one is visualization. Again, what are your visualization? What are you visualizing? Where is it happening? What am I doing? How am I standing? All those sort of things. As we said, as many of the senses involved in that visualization. And then you're going to put that down. You're going to anchor that feeling, as we discussed, and that'll go down your little card as well. So when you're 5-10 minute practice running through that, and you'll see huge improvements, and in your confidence then, because you're almost doing it for real each time you're doing it. If you're doing it well, you're doing it for as in a practice.
Yeah. Now I know the launch so far has been a low key launch. Yeah. Have you got plans to kind of go around talking about it? It strikes me as the type of thing schools, particularly transition years, would love to hear of its contents. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm open to sort of having chats with anybody about it. I mean, it's something I enjoy talking about. I had thought it's sports clubs and things like that will be sort of interested in it, and there'll be an aspect that might be of interest to schools as well. That's the sort of thing, and hopefully then get it into bookshops as well. In the meantime, you might tell us that our time is now up, where we can go to get it, how we can get it, how much it costs. Well, the Performance Manifesto, it's available on Amazon.com and Amazon.co.uk for the Kindle download, and then on Smashwords.com for all the other tablets and iPhones, etc. And then you can get paperback copy on Amazon as well. So please enjoy it. Well, there you go. Enjoy. I can recommend this. It's called the Performance Manifesto. It's written by Daragh Sheridan, a man who has written a book not from something that he studied, from something that he's actually done. He knows what he's talking about. Nearly time to go. I will just remind you again, Friday night, Cavan Chamber of Commerce, table quiz, Farnham Hotel, 8 p.m. I've been Colm Colgan. Talk to you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.